By tear gas the way we always have.
But I'm like the perfect guy to be single because
Creating ways for men to come together.
boom, we're here.
Hello.
We're
Welcome
here.
to.
We're here. If you're listening, rate, share, subscribe. If you're listening, rate, share, subscribe. You could also watch on BigMood TV. We want to connect with you. We're sending heart laser beams out at you. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to share some information, connect with you. So if you're listening, rate, share, subscribe, share it with your friends. So today I have my partner, beautiful partner, coach, womb healer, facilitator, Gianna Clark. What's going on, baby?
What's popping, y'all? Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I'm more go with the flow when it comes to podcasting. I don't really want to know what we're going to talk about. Whatever comes up is like the jam, but she wants to be more structured. And honestly, people probably would enjoy that a little bit more. I don't know. But we're going to give hers a shot. So she brought some topics to the table. So I'm going to give her some space to open the conversation up, and we'll just go from there.
So today's podcast, I thought it'd be a really cool idea for us to talk about the empowered relationship and the steps that we individually took to get to where we're at now. Today's podcast is really designed to inspire and motivate and to guide individuals and couples into a more loving, conscious way of loving.
Yeah.
Evolved way of loving, really.
There's a word, like an ecosystem. It's like flowing. I don't know what the word is, but it's where it's a more flowing relationship.
Harmony,
harmonious. So let's start with you, Bim. What are the hurtful experiences that made it so? Were you ever jaded towards relationships?
significantly. Absolutely. Yeah. After being hurt, you get turned off to, you're like, oh, everyone's like that. And you get turned off to wanting to open your heart up again and being vulnerable, for sure.
What kind of hurts are you talking about?
Oof.
Might as well go into it.
Let's go into it. Let's dive right in. Really being cheated on, lied to, manipulated, abused in several different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. Those are some of the hurts that can come up in relationships that I've personally experienced. And those are the things that really turned me off to wanting to be vulnerable with anyone else until I really got to dive deep and do healing myself.
So the word healing is such a commonly used word, and it's good. It's good that it's commonly used, and it's good that it's used in a broad spectrum, because there's so many layers of healing, so many modalities, so many types of healing. What does yours look like?
Years and years and years of suffering, and waking up and not wanting to be sick and tired anymore. Being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you hear that a lot. My healing journey really started with, as cliche as it sounds, self-love. And really being like, okay, I cannot look outwardly for the love that I feel like I deserve. In turn, I get to give that to myself. So spending time with myself, catering to my needs and my wants and the things that I was looking for in a relationship, I had to give to myself.
Beautiful. So that's beautiful in theory. What did it look like in practicality? Like, what kind of, was it positive affirmations? Was it spending time with yourself in your own body? Like, what things were you doing on a regular basis to teach yourself self-love?
Taking myself on dates and like spending time with myself and really enjoying that process. So that took a while too. For a long time, we talk about this, we've been like relationship people. So we've always been like in relationships and with other people. And when I actually got to spend time alone, it was deeply uncomfortable at first. was really uncomfortable. I like didn't know how to be just with myself and not share energy. And so I got to really discover myself and the things that I wanted in life. And so I would write things out. Affirmations were a huge one. Writing them, I would write them on sticky notes and put them all over my house. You've seen them. They're just like, keep pushing. Like just simple things are just like, you're beautiful. And really speaking life into myself.
Sorry. Sorry, my it was my children. I'm sorry. It was my children. It's worth it. Okay. So
Yeah,
the
speaking life into
affirmations.
myself. Absolutely. So affirmations, journaling, really getting clear. It was a lot of me and God time. And not like being alone, but not feeling lonely was something that I got to really like discover and dive into. And so I built a strong relationship with my higher power, with God to me, and was like, okay, well, it's just me and you, God. And I would get in the car and drive places and do my daily tasks and be like, all right, God, like buckle up, we're going, you know, and take him with me and have conversation with myself and really get to learn me. So yeah, a lot of tears, a lot of tears, a lot of releasing pain. And also really building community of my girlfriends was really, really important for my healing. Being able to like communicate what I'm going through and be able to have them hold space for me was really crucial.
In finding a partner, what did you write out? What did you say you wanted?
I actually have my notebook right here with that. When I felt like I was ready for the right person, I realized I wasn't actually ready. I got to do a lot more healing before I called in that person. And so we've talked about this a little bit too, how I actually wrote out specific details of what exactly I was looking for in a partner. I wanted someone who was funny, who was loyal, who was committed to the grind just as much as I was, who was willing to build something, build a future. So I got very, very clear on exactly what I wanted, and I wrote those things out. And I realized I'm like, okay, I'm ready, and I wasn't really ready for that. I knew I was ready to want that, and I was wanting this idea of this dream man or whatever that I was looking for. And I realized that I had to stop looking for that and be that for myself so that I could show up fully and heal all the wounds that I had to show up fully for that person. So I'd be ready for them when they came.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Do you feel like I'm doing okay?
You are the exact description of all the details that I've written
doing
out.
good. I'm doing good. Okay, beautiful. So I'm gonna go after like I'm a relationship person, but then I speak on everybody knows about sex addiction and everybody in my podcast knows all of my debauchery. So it's no need to get all up in that. But there was a lot of healing in my root chakra and in that portion of my life that needed to be done, and a lot of maturing. It was really maturation that because I still am convinced men in their 20s are not really prepared. Like, because if we take a look at what we're doing, right, we're partnering with this woman who is equally as powerful in a different way, but we're taking this person and we're going to guide this person and we're going to nurture this person. We're going to love this person throughout, because a woman is going to go, if you meet in your 20s or in your 30s, she's going to go through how many amalgamations of who this woman is. She's going to change so much, just like you're going to change as a man. And to love a woman in all of her seasons, especially having kids, to love your partner while she's pregnant is a different kind of love than it was before you had children. So I got to grow up and understand that I get to love someone in all their different seasons. So I couldn't do that at 25. I couldn't wrap my head around that. A lot of what I thought was, take me as I am. Like, here I am, love me, and I'll love you the way I can. And a lot of times it wasn't enough. And I learned that, no, it's take me as I am. And like, you've heard me say, love me in my fullest, right? Love me in my fullest expression. I think you and I do that. We're both pretty wild. And like, I think we both are drawn to each other in our fullest. But it's a action to love someone. It's not just it's an essence, it comes off of you. Like, I think you can tell that I love you by the way that I am with you generally, but you can tell that I love you by the actions that I take to support you and to make sure your life is safe and secure and to provide that. Same thing with my children. I can love my children, but I take actions to make sure they're loved and to make sure and I say the right thing. I'm very intentional with what I say and how I cultivate the relationship.
Do you believe that love is a choice?
I do. It's okay. I do believe love is a
Glitching.
choice. I think absolutely. I think you get to make a big choice. You get to make a big choice whether I'm going to accept this person as they are, accept this person for who they are. And that's, but let me really quickly, have a caveat to that. It doesn't mean just fucking be lazy and don't change what needs to be changed. Work on the things that need to be changed and take a look at things, but love that person in their raw self. Um, but I think it's a choice. So it's a choice to do that, but it's a choice to say, like, I'm going to get food and say, I wonder if my partner ate. Let me ask her if she ate.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Always.
always.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go do the X, Y, and Z. Let me see if she wants to come. And I make a choice to include you in my life, as opposed to just doing things as an individual. And I think that's the choice. Just the choice to involve someone and to live life with someone.
I think the question really comes from like some days you wake up and we're not always so lovable, right? It's like the beginning stages are so fun and they're so exciting and what is it like the honeymoon thing, but once
Yeah,
that like excitement kind of wears off and you're together doing day-to-day activities, sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to be like, oh, I don't want to spend every minute with them, right? And so
yeah,
like we get to show up and choose to whether it be loyal or communicate appropriately, right? We get to choose how we're going to love that person, even in their not so lovely
yeah.
moments.
I suck sometimes, and I don't want to say that. I'm not saying that in a self-deprecating manner. I'm saying it in the sense that, like, I'm a person, and sometimes people suck, and I have this conversation quite a bit with people who are part of fellowships and friendships, and people, do people shit, you know, and people always fall short, and that's you can guarantee that people will fall short, and I'll fall short. But it's the ability to have foresight and not fall short in a way that's
Irreversible?
irreversible. So so I'm not gonna fall short in some pussy. You know what I mean? Like, can't do that. But like, sometimes I'm not the most sensitive. Sometimes I'm not the most communicative, and I think I'm very communicative as a man. I think I'm very communicative, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk about it, and sometimes I
It
really don't want
does
to talk.
not fly.
Yeah, she's not like that. But sometimes I really don't want to talk about it, and like, I just want to be in my head about it, and it'll go away, but like, just leave it. But generally, I'm very communicative, right? Like, so sometimes I suck, right? Sometimes I contradict all the bullshit I talk about on here. Not all of it, but I contradict it, and I'm just like, you know, a- away from that, But I'm a person. It's hard to be in the healed body all the time. Sometimes I'm in my wounded body, and that child comes up. That child is who's doesn't feel understood. That child who feels judged. That child who doesn't feel like I'll be accepted comes out, and you don't want to share. Sometimes that
Mhm.
comes out, and I've had a psychologist explain to me 80% of what we're experiencing in relationships is a projection of our childhood.
Right.
80%. The rest is not from childhood on, those projections of like what the world has taught us. But most of what we're gathering and is experiencing, what most of what we're experiencing and projecting is things that have happened to us in our childhood years. And so it's really focusing and understanding that child, that the needs that that child needed met,
Mm.
and learning how to nurture your inner child and meet those needs on your own. For me, like the crying alone and self-soothing. And I have like kinesthetic self-soothing movements where I rock back and forth and I rub my fingers, I bet my nails, and I have like self-soothing things like that have nothing to do with other people, and then I cry. So I've learned to self-soothe a lot of other ways besides another person. Anyway, there's an inner child that comes out in relationships that can be that can make it challenging.
Mm,
But if you know that, that's the first step of it all. If you know
right.
that, and I even can tell with you, I can tell when you're in your child. I can see when you're in your child. It's a little bratty. It's a little.
What?
No, it's a little
For real.
bratty. It's a
For
little.
real.
It's a little. It's insecure.
Mm.
It's
In what way?
Wait. So
Put me on blast.
I don't even. It's not putting you on blast. You can put me on. I wouldn't consider it putting you on blast. We're having a conversation, but like, um, I show you all the love I can show you. And sometimes the mistrust of past relationships comes up and it's projected onto me, which I never fault you. Ever notice that? I never beef at you about doing that because that's your experience. And I'm never gonna be like, "Duh, duh, duh, duh," like beef with I used to do that. I used to like when a woman would express her experience, I would do things to refute her experience. How fucked up is that, right? That's emotional abuse. To like someone saying, "This is my thing," and then to refute that. That's so, you know,
Oh, you're so good about that. Whenever I express something, you're like, okay,
I hear you.
okay, I hear you. And I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to let you feel that. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that space to allow me to feel that because that really does allow me the space to process my emotions and what I'm really experiencing. That's a really powerful thing, right? And that allows me to be vulnerable. You're
Yeah.
not just like, you're this way or that you feel some type of way because of this. Like you never negate how I feel. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. That's a huge thing. And we were talking about maturity. And I think
Yeah.
that has probably come along with you
With
maturing.
time.
Absolutely.
That comes along with time.
Absolutely. Let's talk about intimacy
Okay.
and how we get reconnected when we feel a little bit disconnected or if
Okay.
we've had some time apart from each other.
Yeah. So just background. She and I both have children. We both run businesses. We both have not 9 to 5 jobs, but we both work many ways to make
A lot.
every way to make money. We do it, and then we have our own meetings we go to. So we really only spend 2 days together that are our days. Out of 7 days of a week. Um, so it's hard to be connected. Monday's the first day, and then Tuesday morning we have together, and then
Life.
we have
And then life.
we have 2 hours on
Yeah.
Wednesday. It's not a lot of time together.
Right. So we get to be really intentional with our time together and like connecting for us is really important.
So I'll go into it, and I haven't spoke so much about plant medicine. Obviously, people know I do plant medicine at this point, but she and I tap in on psilocybin every couple weeks, and we'll have a psilocybin experience together. And if you haven't shared that space with someone you love, that there's divinity.
Mm,
There's a real like sometimes we'll lay in bed silent,
for hours.
silent for hours, just being together, crying about our children, or talking pillow talk and just laughing at each other, or just me rubbing my hands down her body. No sex. Sometimes we have sex, a lot of time, but like just touching in a very sensual way.
And even
Um,
eye gazing, like we talk
yeah.
about before we go into like an intimate experience together, we set our intentions. And typically we'll just talk about it. Like, okay, what are some intentions that you have for this experience that we're having? And a lot
Yeah.
of times it's like, let's reconnect. Let's be vulnerable. Let's be, however it is that what we're looking for, we get to just be really vulnerable and intimate in a non-sexual way, which I think is a really, really empowering
Which
place
leads
to
to
be.
fire ass sex because that's not your intention.
Right.
And I really very rarely do I look like I'm trying to bust a nut. Very rarely do I look at our sex life like that. Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie. but like very rarely do I look at it that way. But when we're in that setting, I'm looking at it as like we're gonna connect,
Right.
and ultimately, if we end up being intimate physically, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing that
It's
that
very not selfish.
it's very not selfish.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very much like a connectedness. And let's talk about eye gazing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that was really uncomfortable for me at first. That was
Yeah.
really like I like to make eye contact when I communicate, but
Yeah.
just like sitting in silence, like gazing into each other's eyes, I'm like, oh my God, like is he looking at my unibrow? Or like what is he looking at? Is he really looking at like me? And that's, I mean, you've heard your eyes are the windows to your soul. And so it's like I wanted to make sure that I was presenting myself, my soul, I guess, however that looks, in a way that like you're looking into me,
Yeah.
right? You're looking into me, and I wanted to make sure that like you're seeing some good stuff, and so it was really tough.
But sometimes people look in my eyes, and I'm sure you can see hurt. I sometimes have sad eyes, so it's we don't get to choose what's presented if it's being authentic, right? You're very not melancholy. You're a very joyous, free woman, and that's what's attractive about you. Is I'm I've spent a lot of time in bondage of myself, and of circumstances, whether it be mental health diagnosis, Eric alcoholic, that identity, or all the identities I've wrapped myself up in, um, and all the trauma that I've experienced, and they sometimes it reflects through my eyes. And like even right now, like I can feel my eyes. I took my medication. I can feel my eyes are a little bit low, and they don't have the shine. Maybe they do, but I sometimes they don't have the shine that they once did. So it is vulnerable to have someone look deep into your eyes. But for you and I, we do that. So we'll lay on the pillow, ear to ear on the pillow, and we'll just look into each other's eyes. And I'll rub my finger down her nose, and it's very sweet. And to be in this, because so you can look at mushrooms as like this drug that changes your brain chemistry and you get high. Like there's like whole I can bastardize the whole thing. You can get high and then you're in this altered state, and it's easy to connect in an altered state, of course. But then also the way I look at it is there's a veil of existence that you cross.
Mm,
And now that and so I've done them so many times, I know exactly when I'm crossing that veil
you do.
into from one plane of existence to the next.
Mm.
And when I cross that veil, we're in a different headspace. We're in a different environment, in a different atmosphere. And to share that atmosphere with someone you love, and to be sometimes we'll just take all of our clothes off and we'll just be naked in that atmosphere. And it's that's one of the huge things we do to tap in to just connect. And sometimes we've had challenging experiences together in that space that have we did it together. We both challenged together, and it wasn't like bad vibes. It was like this is challenging, but we did the challenge together and we made it through. So it's not always like, oh, it's never a bad trip. It can be
Never.
challenging. It can be challenging,
It's always a
educational.
learning lesson
It's
for
always a
sure.
learning.
Yeah, an experience.
It's-
And can we just like mention for sure and just absolutely let the people know you cannot be in that intimate space if you do not feel safe, right? Like we set intentions of intimacy and vulnerability because we feel safe with each other. And that's a really important note
And
to make.
I tap in and ask her if she feels safe
Always.
regularly,
Always.
because I've made women not feel safe. And when a woman's safe, this is when we talk about submission, because I'm submissive to her, um, in like all the time. Like she'll say, "Go do this," and I'll go do that, or she can direct the show sometimes, and I'm okay with that. I have no problem with a powerful woman being in a leadership role, but when a woman is safe, she'll be submissive to you as well, and allow you to be in your masculine energy.
Which is very, very new for me. It's a very new experience for me. And we've talked about this a lot. It was really difficult for me to just be and feel safe in my feminine and be able to just flow. And being in the relationship with our strong communication, with our safety, with our vulnerability, it allows me to want, because you're a good leader and because I know your intentions and your heart is pure, I feel safe to just fall into letting you be the leader in sense. And
Yeah,
so, and we talked about earlier too, we're equals, right?
yeah,
Like wherever I fall short, you come in and
yeah.
you stand tall and you like pull, take one for the team. And same goes for you. Whenever you're like, I'm just having a day and I get to show up for you. And that's really like equality in a relationship is not necessarily deeming like a male and female role, but really being able to flow between all of the things that we get to do.
And and not be wrapped up in I'm a man and what men do,
Mm,
and not to be wrapped up in gender roles.
totally.
I feel like obviously with non-binary people and trans folks, and one good thing that's come out of that is the absence of gender roles. Like not the absence, but the reconstruction of gender roles where it's like I can cook, I can do dishes, I can make the bed, she can make the bed, she can be more, she can be a disciplinarian with the kids. I can be like with my youngest son. I'm both disciplinarian and I keep him on a very, I'm very not short. What's the word? I'm
Mm,
short, but I don't know what the word is.
I know what you're trying to say.
I'm very I'm tough.
To the point.
I'm to the point and I'm
He's a
tough
he's
on
a
him.
no bullshit type of man.
But he's also very much so nurtured.
Yeah.
And he hears I love you and he hears I'm proud of you more than I've ever heard it in my entire life. So I'm both, and it's okay. It's in 2022 to be both, and being okay with that, and not feeling emasculated in that. Because a lot of people feel like it's that pride, it's that ego self that says I need to be X, Y, and Z role, or I'm less than. And ultimately, it makes you a more complete human being to be in all things. And I want to be all things. I want to be, I want to be all things. That was good. Let's go bars. Let that bitch breathe.
Bars. I think some really important things that have going back to like the intimacy and what allows us to make this different, right? Like we've had some experiences previous, each of us have in our own way. And I think what since the very beginning, you and I have always said, like, this gets to be different. This relationship that we are choosing to be in gets to be different. And so what does that look like, right? Like for us, I think it's really communicating our vulnerability and learning to listen and wanting to listen to each other.
Yeah.
And we're working on that, right? Like I feel like we're both pretty good listeners to each other because I care what you have to say, right? We want to grow, and that's our intention. It's not just anyways, yeah.
So, and the constant ascension is what's different. Like the not the discontentment, but status quo is not enough.
Yeah.
Just take me, like the idea, take me as I am. Yes, I take you as you are. But I also want to see you ascend, and I want us to ascend together. I want you to get rich. I want to get rich with you. I want you to find a level of peace and solace in your heart that you couldn't find before. I want you to find a level of love that you couldn't achieve before. I want you to continue to be growing and ascending. And if I need to, I needed to be with someone who's dedicated to that. When I wrote the list out of all of my checkpoints of what I wanted, and she marks all my boxes. When I wrote that checklist out, there were certain things that I just needed. I needed someone who was going to work on themselves. I needed someone who was spiritual but open minded to spiritual, like other spiritual practices. Not only it wasn't like I needed a Christian. I needed someone who was broad. I needed someone who liked the gym. It was a number of things, but the big one was I needed someone who was dedicated to personal development.
Yeah. Same.
And we just happen to both do the same kind of work.
We do. It's so great. It works so well. It works so well. I'm just reading like a little key note here. Keys to discovering the truth of our connectedness really are seeking to understand another's experience. We really get to explore the challenges and the gifts in dedicating ourselves to becoming more real, present, and open in our relationship.
Yeah.
It's super powerful.
Definitely. It's a learning. It's a learning. It's constant education and open-mindedness and hearing one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all I have to say about that. There's a constant learning that gets to take place, and seeing you in your phases, and like, because just even since we met, we met in very different circumstances, and the you from then is different from the you now, and getting to learn those different phases of you, yeah, makes it. And I want to understand you. I want to understand you, and I want, just like I want to be understood, you know, and I want to understand you more than I want to be understood. And I think there's a prayer that speaks about that. Seek to be understood, to understand more than to be understood.
Yeah.
And with you, I try to like get it. I want to wrap my head around, like, okay, like, fuck she thinking, you know?
I'm pretty vocal.
Yeah, I want that to make sense, you know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
That's beautiful.
So,
Wow.
so
What's
how
up?
how we doing on time at 30? Beautiful. So what are you working on? What are you working on right now? Or what do you is causing and creating? Well, so let's since she was on last, she threw her first womb wellness event.
Yes.
So
We're gonna talk about that.
we're gonna talk about that.
Sweet.
So tell people what it was, and and then we'll go into what we're doing next.
Beautiful. So I'm Gianna, the Rooted Woman. And yeah, since our last conversation here on Hearts Over Everything, what I was able to curate was something that was in the works for several years. Was this thought, this idea. I was like, I just want to get a group of women together to create, to connect, to heal our wombs and be able to tap into this space that not a lot of people talk about, right? And just have this collective healing. So I finally did it. I did it. And I'm super, super stoked to share that information that there will be more. And I'm planning to host them once a month. Um, we got to get together. We opened the whole ceremony with a heart opening cacao ceremony. We had breath work led by an incredible friend of mine who is seriously powerful, just guided us through this entire intention setting. And then we got to breathe through it. And it was painful at times and liberating at times. And it was so, so, so healing. I probably cried the entire event just out of pure gratitude. Seeing the women that showed up for themselves in that space just tore my heart right open and seriously made so much more room for expansion in that way. And I could not be more grateful. We had sound bowl healing. We just got to create community together, just women coming together to heal. And I'm really, really excited to announce that I am in the works of planning the next one. I have a couple videos, pictures, reels, and I dive a little bit deeper into that on my Instagram. So if you want to check it out,
Follow her on Instagram, and everything she does will be posted on there. So keep an eye out on her Instagram, but turn post notifications on because she's doing things.
appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it so much. You're my biggest supporter, and I seriously could not feel more confident about all of this without you. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's been
Gotcha,
awesome.
girl. Beautiful, beautiful. So, what? Okay, really quickly. What is the next event? What's your vision for the next? You don't have to give it all away. What's your vision for the next event?
Ooh, it's so juicy. It's so
Intentional.
juicy.
Just go intentional.
Yeah, intention. So I've titled it the Womb Awakening Ceremony. So I mean, it kind of says a lot. We get to awaken our wombs. Like, what even is a womb, right? We get to talk about all of that. My goal really is to educate women on this space. And men have a womb too, just so you know. I'll go more into that a little bit later. But I do really just want to educate women and get educated myself because there's gifts and talents that women that walk into this space have that I don't have. And that's why I think it's super important to connect so we can all share and really be a part of this community that we're building. So Womb Awakening Ceremony. So we get to really tap into that space and understand what that means and awaken the womb, awaken like the beast, the dragon within, because there's so much power in the womb space. So that's all I want to say right now.
It's beautiful.
It's a little exciting.
So for men, we have the Hearts and Minds men's gathering every other Wednesday at Freshly Faded Barbershop here in San Diego. I'm speaking to my friends in New York. We're going to start a men's virtual group. So it's going to be international virtual men's group that we're going to launch in the next month to bring men together so really what it's come down to is processing life experiences open to feedback. So we have men in a group, in a circle between 7 to 20 men together, and someone comes with something he's experiencing about his wife, about his job, about his children, his sex life. People are, and it's a safe place because talk to your wife about things, but to then talk to a group of men about having, for someone who had kids, and had a partner with kids, and this what sex turns into as adults with children. It's a whole experience that we're all just supposed to do on our own. Men are supposed to just navigate it on our own. To be like, oh, it is what it is. We don't have sex anymore, and to come into a group and to be like hear other men say like, yeah, me too, dude. And then all of us are now in conversation speaking about, how about you try this? Have you spoken to her about it? And we're all giving like advice and feedback on like an experience, or like we've had a wide variety of experiences be expressed, and all of these different manifestations of masculine energies, because there's these masculine archetypes that I study and I've read tons about, but there's so many expressions of masculine energy, some healthy, some unhealthy. And the unhealthy ones, when they come out, we have this group where we can call them out. And we can say, not call them
Call
out,
them
but
forward.
we can call them forth
Yeah.
and be like, hey man, this is not you at your highest.
Mm.
And we can course correct. So we have our first men's gathering that we started a couple months ago that is in person in San Diego. We'll have a remote men's gathering, same thing, Hearts and Minds remote men's gathering that'll start next month, with some dope. And what's dope, and this is not, it's not secluded to people of color, but so many people of color come out, so many men of color come out, which is so powerful. And I'm on the phone almost every day, or in DMs every day, with other men of color saying, this is exactly what I needed. It's exactly what I'm looking for. And it's a beautiful need that we get to meet. I also have a men's mastermind, 14-week mastermind that starts in July. That is 6 weeks, 7 intentions over 14 weeks. Individual coaching calls available. Everyone will have individual coaching between leadership, empowerment, and emotional intelligence. And then there'll be a group call about setting intentions for the day, the week, and the quarter. And we're gonna like break through things and live life with precision and really do it in masculine unity. In masculine unity
So
and all of its
beautiful.
beautiful expressions.
Yeah.
So and then she and I'm pitching to her because I'm gonna convince her to do a couples retreat.
You already got me. We're in it. We're doing
A
it.
couples retreat, so we can bring the men and women
Yeah.
together, or not even couples retreat. Maybe men, random men and random women get to do eye gazing in a non-sexual. This is not sexual. This is just intimacy.
I think a lot of it too is about healing a lot of women's experience in a
of
sense.
men, exactly.
So many women have been hurt. I mean, men as well, but women, the space that I work in, I work with a lot of women who have been deeply hurt by men, and they're skewed. The question you asked me earlier was, have you been jaded to relationships? Absolutely. Right. And a lot of women who are hurt and hurting are jaded to men, right?
And
They
they don't
don't
know
have that
safe
trust.
men.
Right. And so being able to create this community that you're building with the men, being able to create the safe space, the support, you are creating a community of healing healers, right? You're
Yeah.
creating a community of healing men who are actively doing the work and going out into the world to present themselves as healing,
Absolutely.
right? As healers. And so women get to experience that healed men and
Yeah.
maybe flip the script on their thought of what that used to
Absolutely.
be. Can we just,
It's dope. It's
so
just dope.
good.
So let's wrap it up. Plug your Instagram.
The Rooted Woman, TheRootedWomban. The Rooted Woman. My name is Gianna.
And her coaching under BigMood will be launching in the next month.
Yes.
Her coaching individual will be launching in the next
Mhm.
month. We have a meeting for her website tomorrow. So enrollment will be coming in the next couple months, but she'll be up and running as a coach. So if you're a woman, and we want young women too, 16 to 40. We want 45. We want women to come and learn about their bodies, learn about their womb, learn how to
Absolutely.
heal through powerful female empowerment and leadership.
It's so hard not to just share everything that we're working on, but
Well,
I'm really excited.
We have time, and we're gonna lastly, we're gonna be doing this once a month. We're gonna be tapping in. We're just gonna speak about
the conscious relationship
and our experience. And I want to be honest. When we have a hard time, let's talk about the hard time we're having, and let people know that it's not all. I never want to promote it like we have a perfect relationship. We have a great relationship, but we get to, even when we're struggling, we get to express that so people can say like, oh, we're struggling too,
There are things that we are working on based off our past experiences that, because of our consciousness and our dedication to ascension, that we get to work on together in this, right?
Absolutely.
So there's hiccups sometimes. We're like, oh, that side of me came out.
and in this podcast, I it's important for me to never frame it as someone that knows. I don't know. I'm just experiencing things, sometimes great things, sometimes challenging things, and I'm expressing my experience and the wisdom I get from my experience outwardly. That's all I'm doing. Some people identify me as an expert in certain areas, but my expertise is my experience and conveying that experience. So, point being, we're going to express also things that are challenging for us and bring those things up. So it's not just going to be, we're amazing, we're doing so good, you know.
We are.
We are. We're doing really well, but it'll be honest and raw and uncut. So we're gonna wrap it up. Eric_BigMood Coach. You can find everything there. Share the podcast. We're out of here. Peace.